taking flight. Card Spring Training, sponsored by Woods Basement Systems.
I know you guys met with Nolan earlier, and just to give you a little background on that, he and I did get together this morning. I spoke with him a couple days ago, and so we decided to meet face-to-face before we had to address the media or teammates or anything like that. And it really was like cordial, friendly. We went into this offseason knowing that we were going to try to explore trades, which we did. We didn't get to a place where he is no longer a Cardinal, so he's certainly welcome back. And I think simply put, with Nolan on our team, we feel we're a better team. So I think from today moving forward, it's about him playing baseball, him being a ball player, and us just trying to move forward with what this club's going to look like. I think the real, calculus for us is how we rethink about, playing time for others and how we address that. But that's something that the staff is thinking through. And as we take these next 6 weeks, that's something that we're going to try to prepare for and have an answer for. But ultimately, we definitely feel we're a better club today than we were had we not had him on this team.
Well, how would you describe this? Is this now a perpetual thing where you check in with teams to see if they want them? Do injuries change?
I mean, I think the way we're going to approach this spring training and this season is he's part of the Cardinals. Now, if something comes up and it makes sense, I'll certainly get with him and we'll talk about it. But it's not something where I'm getting up every morning and, chasing the waiver wire or chasing injuries or chasing things like that. It's something that I will certainly pay attention to, but I think from our fan perspective, from our team perspective, from our perspective is he's part of the Cardinals.
So that's a bit of a change from aggressively shopping him to more thinking, all right, he's the team, if someone wants him, come talk to me.
We definitely tried this offseason, and here we are.
And Mo, clearly having Nolan out at third base helps any team, notably yours.
Mm-hmm.
But how would trading him help your team and your franchise?
Well, it would have just taken us down that direction of trying to give that youth movement more playing time. And, I think it's a little bit premature to sort of like come to conclusions on what that looks like now. Staff knows they want to look at how they can separate and get players at bats, and that's something that we'll use the next few weeks to try to navigate.
Mo, go ahead, Kate.
I know it's early. There's still 6 weeks left of spring training, yet to have a full squad. But when you're looking at construction and finding the runway for the young players, do you feel like the roster flexibility or the position flexibility will still allow you to create those runways?
Yeah, that's definitely what we hope. Obviously, you think about someone like a Nolan Gorman, who can play second, can play third, can DH, could play first if you had to, but the key is like there's ways to get him playing time. And given the offseason he has, that's something we're hopeful to do.
Mm-hmm.
Mo, the other day you told us that you felt that Nolan's list would have to go kind of beyond that 5 for you to find a deal, and just now he told us he doesn't see that changing ever. Does that sort of obviate the point for you if the list won't change and the list needs to change?
I don't think that's something like I have to focus too much on. I mean, if something presents itself, I will present it to him, and if it makes sense, we'll consider it. If it doesn't, we won't.
Is finding time for Gorman at third still a priority?
I think you'll see him at third this spring for sure.
What do you expect from Nolan? I mean, this season, you signed him to be a Gold Glove MVP, or you traded for him, excuse me.
I think he has a chance to be very exciting. I mean, I certainly was nervous with the fact of having to consider trading him, because I think those kind of players they're great. I mean, he's been a great player his whole career, and I think he expects to be great again. So, again, I feel like that does help us.
Although it didn't end in accomplishing the goal you set out, is there some relief in the notion of now clarity of, okay, we know what this is going to look like and we can kind of mentally move forward into the next step of this process?
I think so. I will say last night I slept pretty well for the first time in a while, and I think there's excitement around him being here, and let's just see where it goes.
You thought it might be a little awkward when he arrived, and was there that awkwardness that had come out in the conversation you had, or do you expect it?
It wasn't, because 2 days ago we talked on the phone for the first time in a while, and it was like business as usual. It was fine. As a matter of fact, I joked, when I see you, I want a hug. So it was good. Look, I think whenever you're involved in something like this, there's always that sort of unknown on how people are going to react, what their expectations are. But in the end, he's a pro, and he's going to be a pro. He's a baseball player.
Did you get the hug?
I did.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Mo, does having him here change the competitive expectation for this season? Does it put you in a position where now, okay, let's focus on winning more ball games, let's focus on doing that?
Well, I think the message is we wanted to come in here and compete for wins regardless, but having Nolan Arenado on your team certainly helps.
Mitch is sleeping well last night. How has this process worn on you?
It's been draining at times because it's you can only control what you can control, right? Like when you think about like the free agent market, if you're really wanting to do something, you can go and do it, right? What's the proxy? Money, years, something, but you can get it done. Trades are different, and you need a partner, and sometimes it shows up, sometimes it doesn't. And when I think about the last 3 months, there's been a lot of twists and turns throughout this, and it got us to this point, and this is where we are now.
Well, how much on the slide rule did you have to go when you were talking to teams about what the team wanted and what Nolan wanted?
Well, I had a list, and that's what I had to work with.
Okay.
And then in terms of what we wanted was, a good deal, or the best deal we could get, bless you. And that's not always, happens. Doesn't run parallel all the time. But here we are, so.
When you look at Nolan Arenado's drive and his fire to win, and possibly even in October, can you just what have you learned about that over the years and how it could help you guys?
Well, I think we've always tried to surround ourselves with winning type players, right? I mean, I think if you look at the last 30 years of this organization, it's been our focus. As we have this transition going on right now, it's not that we don't want to win baseball games. It's just, trying to reposition the organization for, long-term success. And as you think through that, ultimately, we still want good players. We still want to draft well. We still want to develop well. And we still want to win at the big leagues. And that hasn't changed. So hopefully by the news of today or recently, it's going to have a positive impact on where we're going.
And I'm not being flip with this. Is it now transition and not a reset?
Well, I think when we use words, they come out, they get magnified. I feel like a reset was trying to avoid like a rebuild, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is, to me, it really is defined by a transition. Why is that? You already know that I have 10 months, if you're counting, which I know you are.
Oh, no.
You might be.
Checking, I definitely am, but I know he is. He's checking the months. But so leadership's going to change, and how you think about even like some of the things that we've done for years here, those are going to change. So it really is a transition in leadership, but directionally it's still going to be the same. It's going to try to be successful, and how we get there from day one may take a little time, or we may see quicker success. We'll see, but that's why I go with the word transition versus just reset.
It just caught my ear, so I figured it out.
Thank you.
How does Arenado fit into that then? Like, I mean, you mentioned you have 10 months remaining. Same thing could be next year, right? If he goes on where he looks for a trade, but then that becomes Heim's decision, or are we? Where does he fit into that transition?
Well, you just said it. It would be someone else's issue, but in the meantime, we're going to go play baseball, and hopefully you guys enjoy the product.
Mo, other than the deal that we know that Nolan blocked, did you get close at any other time? Was there any time where you thought it was more likely than not to happen?
I mean, I think revisiting the last 3 months is probably not helpful for anybody, but there's a lot of work going on both sides, and here we are.
Mo, Nolan makes your team better when he's your third baseman, offensively, defensively. But as for the rest of those players in that kind of younger bucket that you guys are trying to decide, okay, how do they get impacted by this? What's the push-pull between prioritize defense and fit as many of those bats into the lineup as you can, and as you talk through that with the staff?
Well, I definitely feel like last year the one thing we didn't do well was score runs. So, offense is going to be that priority. I think the push-pull always comes down to not so much who we're playing, but how we're doing it, right? Is it defense or offense? And we've got to strike that right balance, which, consistently we weren't able to do last year, but there were trade-offs being done even last year. So we'll just have to see how things play out over the next 6 weeks and determine really how that lineup's going to look like day in and day out.
Does the notion of the strengths or weaknesses of your pitching staff play into how you go about making those decisions if you've got guys that are pitch to contact on the air, on the ground? How much does that
all of
factor
that
in?
factors in, yeah. Those are all real variables, and it'd be crazy to ignore them.
You mentioned Gorman is playing third base during spring. Is that a kind of a test run to see if he plays third during the season, or is that?
Well, look, Nolan Gorman right now is Nolan Arenado is our third baseman right now, right? But we want Gorman to remain flexible.
I guess on days that Arenado takes off, are we going to see Gorman at third? Is that part of the
Probably,
plan?
yeah, that would be part of the plan, yes.
As we reach the conclusion of this, or whatever we're calling this, does it change the way that you view any other players on your roster, whether that's for salary reasons or fit reasons? Do guys now become available who might not otherwise have been?
Not really. I mean, like, I think you don't see a lot of activity or movement in spring training, but we'll see how things play out. So no conclusions are being made today. We're just we're addressing the elephant in the room, as we refer to it, most of the offseason, and so here we are.
5 days into camp, all the pitchers on mark.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mo.